Hey everyone, how's it going? So I got a bit of a weird one here I'm trying to figure out. I have a 2018 Nissan Titan. I'm not quite sure which engine's in it. I have the scanner hooked up to it. It's setting codes for one of the cam sensors. However, I don't think that's the problem it's having. It's got a drivability issue. However, the problem that I'm noticing is, and I'm going to show you in a second, as soon as I get out of this parking lot. I pulled into this parking lot to turn around, and it kind of had like a corn maze of parking lot. So just get out into the main road here, and I'll show you. The code won't clear either. The P0077, I think. I don't know. I'd have to double check it. But I'm going to pull out into the road here. This thing's got 117,000 miles on it. Okay, it's accelerating fine, under light throttle. I'm going to accelerate now under medium throttle, but watch the RPM. Okay. Right, no problem. It's driving fine. See that? Everything's fine. No issue. But now I'm going to go down onto the main road to pull into the shop. And I'm going to show you what this thing is doing. And it's very strange. It's very reminiscent of my Ram. Remember my Ram with the wouldn't rev over 22 or 2500 RPM, whatever the heck it was, when I got that? It's kind of reminiscent of that. Let me show you. So, no problems. Drives fine. I'm gonna now try to accelerate harder. As soon as it hits 3,500, it goes into fuel cutoff. Right? Bizarre, right? Almost like it's hitting the neutral RPM limiter, because they don't want you to free rev these engines in neutral. It drives perfectly fine otherwise. It drives perfectly fine. It's as if the car doesn't know it's in gear. So that's got me thinking. But let me pull into a spot here and I'm going to show you. So here, now if I free rev it, no problem, right? But as soon as you get to, that's free revving it. So, what does that mean? Does the PCM not realize it's in gear? Because that's what it's doing. Let me see if I can see the code here again. So this is a bit strange. I don't know why it's doing it. Let me go back to codes. Oh, crank position system variation not learned. That just popped up. Interesting. So here's the code, P0075, intake valve timing control circuit, B1. Okay, and then now this other code, that code, that 0315 was not there before. Crank position system variation not learned. Okay. Special functions. Okay, I am not touching the gas. My foot is not on the pedal, and the RPMs just went up. I don't know if that's possibly due to AC. Let's turn that off. I guess anything's a possibility, right? Let's see. Self-learning control. This function allows mixture ratio self-learning control values to be cleared. Improper usage of this function may cause poor drivability when the ECM self-learning is completed. Okay, I'm not quite sure what on earth that means. Key on, engine off, transmission and Parker neutral. Okay, I just shut it down. This thing gets a little funky, I noticed. Alright, so it's in the run position. Continue. Select continue to clear the self-learned values. Does this continue? Test complete. Select forward, retry, or back. Forward. Okay, back. Okay. System target, idle, and RPM adjustment. What's that? That could be something to do. Set engine RPM. This almost sounds like... Okay, hold on. Key on engine running. When you have a key fob vehicle and it doesn't want to start. See, it took a little extra time to start. Okay, everything's off. Hit continue. Conditions are not correct, okay. Maybe because it has codes, I don't know. Target ignition and timing. Okay, well, all it's doing is you can select timing, so that's not what I'm looking for. This, the VVEL position sensor adjustment preparation, that has to do with the cam timing, but I don't see... Okay. In other words, you don't want to do this unless you're actually replacing the VVT solenoids or VVEL solenoids, or the actual actuators, the gears themselves. Generic functions. What's under generic functions? Nothing good that I can see. Let's go to actuator tests. What the heck is FPCM? I don't even know what that is. Just data. Okay, so there's really nothing here. Go back, look at codes. Okay. Clear codes. Codes. Alright, so it erased that one code, but it keeps setting this code. So I'm not sure why it set that code. It's very bizarre. Let me look into this and just see if there's a cam crank correlation, something that I can do. Because this is as if... Actually, you know what? Let me look at something real quick while I'm thinking about it. Let me go to data, and let me just see what I can find. Main signals. Let me just see if it shows what gear it's in. Because it's possible it may not be seeing what gear it's in. Let me look for this and see if I can find it. So the only thing I can find in engine data is PN position switch, park neutral. And right now it's in park and it's showing on. See it there at the bottom? Showing on. But then when I switch it to reverse, it goes to off. When I switch it to drive, it goes to off. So very interesting. let me start researching these codes and see what I can come up with. This is a little bizarre. Why it's going into that RPM limiter mode? It's just very strange. Could it have something to do with that one code? I guess that. Let me just go back to the code. Oops, nopes. Could it have something to do with the P0075 intake valve timing control circuit? It's possible, I guess. I mean, I just kind of don't think that would do that, but I guess anything's a possibility. All right, let me look into this, see what I can't figure out. All right, so I'm working on this Titan, and that code for the intake cam solenoid, whatever the heck the actual code was, the P0075. So that has to do with the intake cam on the driver's side head, and something with the solenoid that controls the timing, you know, for the variable cam timing. So, of course, we don't get the full story. Never get the full story. So I started taking this thing apart, and I'm like, somebody's been in here. I could see there's bolts missing. There's stuff missing. And also, I noticed, looking at this, that there's electrical tape on some wiring and stuff like that. So I'm not quite sure what was done here. But there's the connector that goes to that solenoid that's right there. That's the solenoid that I had to get to. You got to take the fan down. You got to take the shroud out, obviously. But like wiring over here, somebody's wrapped it with electrical tape. Wiring over here has been wrapped with electrical tape, as you can see. So, but like I said, you never get the full story. People get stuff fixed, and then they never tell you. I don't know why. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that. Like why they don't bother telling you what's happened and what's led to them bringing it to you. But anyway, I pulled the connector off and I was going to start checking it. So what I did was I grabbed the end of the connector and I started tugging on the wires, and this is what happened. So if you look closely, oops, sorry, went the wrong way. The green wire here, I got to that and boop. But it actually, whoops, hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to focus in on this. That wire, when I tugged on it, holding it in one hand and tugging it with the other, it felt as if the insulation of the wire was still connected, but it broke immediately. Like you felt the like spring tension of the plastic. So, and then it snapped. So, easiest way to fix this is get a new connector. Problem is, nobody has a connector. I searched, can't find one. I won't see it till next week. I want to get the car back. I can fix that. The easiest way to fix this actually is going to be cutting the wiring down there for the other wire, taking the thing out and fixing it on the bench. So that's what I'm actually going to do, is fix it on the bench. Then I'm going to put it back in the car and fix the harness at that point. All right, so now on these connectors, I cut it off. Since I got to solder it anyway, which I rarely solder, you got to take this white piece out. Now I'm trying to do this looking through the camera, so excuse me if it doesn't go quite as I'm hoping it does. So that piece has to come out, just like that. And now you got to pick those terminals out. On a 2-pin terminal, or a 2-pin connector like this that goes to a solenoid, it really doesn't matter. One's going to be power, one's going to be ground. Honestly, it really doesn't matter on a solenoid. You can reverse them, it's not going to make a difference. I always try to put them back the same way they came off. But if for some reason you forgot which way they went, like let's say both wires ripped out, you don't know how it's supposed to go, it doesn't make a difference on a 2-wire. Only because it's just the way it's designed. Basically, it's just completing a circuit like a light bulb, that's all. All right, let's get these out. And I got to look at this, so I'm going to have to turn you off while I try to figure this out. All right, so down inside here, if you look, right at the top edge of that metal piece, there's actually like a clip or a pin that actually latches this down. So I got to lift up on that just slightly, and then the wire comes out. So I got to do the same thing with the other side to get that out. And then these things will lock. Did you hear that click? Now it's locked in place. So let me get these both out, because trying to show you the other one's going to be a nightmare, because I got to probably get a third hand to try to get the other one out. Usually what I do is I lift up on that little locking piece. I lift up slightly and then push down on the pin, and it usually will get it out. But trying to show you that and do it at the same time is not going to be easy. So, sorry, you don't get to watch it. That was a pain in the neck to get loose from there. That's all. Push that out. So let me get this ready to do what I got to do, and I'll show you that. Now all I'm doing here is I'm just basically bending the wire till it breaks off, because I don't want to ruin the connector, you know, the terminal itself. Just like that. Now there is that water seal that went in here, and really all I did was just pulled on it and tugged it out. I'll show you on the other piece when I go to do that. Now with your soldering iron and your soldering tip reasonably hot, a lot of them come with this little sponge block inside the kit. You basically just want to clean off the residual dirt that accumulates on there. And basically I'll always over solder, because that's basically the flux that winds up on there. I'll over solder this. And do that. All right. So let me show you here, if I can. Now when you're soldering, you don't want to put the solder onto the thing you're soldering. You want to put the heat into the thing you're soldering and then let the solder flow. I'm trying to do this and film at the same time. It's not easy. There it goes. Just like that. We'll leave that alone for a second, because for obvious reasons it gets hot. Now if you like this little tool here, I saw that on the Snap-on truck many years ago and I didn't even know what it was, and then he showed me and I was just like, okay, I'll take it. There it is. I mean, it's not perfect, but I'm going to get this person back on the road. The solder connection is good. I normally don't solder, as you all know, but that solder connection is good. It is not coming apart. So, with that one out of the way, see, now the problem is I don't like how it wound up sticking up like that, but I should be able to grab it with a pair of pliers and just bend it down slightly, like that. I mean, I could put more solder on it, I guess, but it's got a good connection and it's solid. I just put a touch more solder on that. You for a minute. Alright, this is just really difficult to do with you watching me, to be honest with you, because the camera's in the way. Okay. That's mucho batero. Yeah, that's hot still. So. That's good. I'm happy with that. So now, just for what it's got to do, that's going to be fine. I still got to do the other wire. Where did I put the connector? Let me back you up a little bit. Or the pin, I should call it. See, now I just popped that out. And then I open up this end here. If I can. Just trying to open up the gap a little bit, because it makes putting it back together easier. All right. So now we're going to do the same thing on this one. Okay. I wet that sponge with just some regular tap water. Now the reason I go onto the tip of the soldering iron there is just to get the solder to flow and heat the terminal out, just like that. That should be perfect. Try to keep from burning my fingers this time. There you go. That one came out a little bit prettier. I might have to file off a little bit of that on there, but that's okay. Got to see when I try to assemble this. And basically these should just snap in. If they don't snap in, you may have to file off some of that solder that built up. Okay, let me start this. All right, so I already got the one wire in. Let's just try getting the other wire in. And there it goes. You heard it snap. And I always tuck these weather seals back in place. All right. So now we should have a good connection here. So what I'm going to do is my usual repair, wiring repair. Which I usually don't solder. I only solder when I have to, when I have no choice. Like if I could have gotten a new connector, I would have done that instead. But couldn't get a new connector, so this will be perfect. So now, I'll put a link in the description for this. It's actually a pretty handy tool. If you want me to make a more informed video on how to solder, I can do that too. Let's see. I always use the smallest gauge I could possibly use to get on the wire, because that always gives you the best fit. I'm just twisting it. That fits pretty good. That fits pretty good. Okay. And see, trying to do this and look through the camera at the same time is not easy. Just like that. Now these are seamless, these connectors, these butt connectors. If they have a seam in it, make sure that that pincher piece, that top piece there, make sure that that's on the opposite end of the seam. So the seam would be basically down in that valley there. So we're going to do that. So that's perfect. That's not going to go anywhere. And now I have to making sure that stuff's not hot anymore. Shouldn't be. See, and here we go. U.S. General. This is at the shop. So I have Harbor Freight stuff here at work too. People ask. Oops. A lot of the small ones in here. And this is marine heat shrink. This is the stuff with glue in it. Because you want the stuff with glue in it. Because the stuff with glue in it will create a watertight seal. Roughly half. Slide that on there. Slide that on there. So now this is ready to go on the car. So now I'm going to put this on the car. And then hopefully that's going to fix this problem. The check engine light, well, the code would come back immediately. I would clear the code and it would come back immediately. So hopefully this is going to straighten this all out. I mean, it kind of makes sense. So, but I'm hoping this is the entire drivability issue, which I think it is. I think since it just doesn't know exactly where the cam timing is on the intake side, it just goes into fuel shutoff. I think that's what's going on at least. All right, let me get this ready. I'm going to install this. I can't show you installing this because it's just too tight down there. And I have no way of getting in there enough to show you. So, okay, so that's all together, meaning the connector down here. So it's all soldered up. What I need to do is I'm going to wrap this with some electrical tape. Then I got to tuck it in and plug it in. And then we're going to see if the code clears and stays away. If it does, it should be good. But we're going to find out. Oh, one other thing too. Remember I said there's bolts missing and stuff? This was like this. This was missing. There was something else that was missing before. And when I was taking it apart, you could just, oh, the shroud bolts were all loose. And then also the nuts on the pulley for the fan, got one new nut there. So yeah, so somebody's been in here, somebody's had this thing apart, and you can just see, look at this, here's a zip tie just hanging out here. Like, what's this doing here? So yeah, now, let me find a bolt for that too. Let me wrap up that, and we're going to see if that code will clear and go from there. So I got the scanner hooked up here, and let's just read the codes. Oops, let me turn that light off. Codes. All right, so now before, if I tried to clear this code, it wouldn't clear. Now, it doesn't mean that it will clear now, but I'm just curious. I may have to road test it to get it to clear. I don't know. Let's find out. Like, as soon as I went through the clear code process, are you sure? Yes, I'm sorry. The DTC, if I went right back to codes, it was there. Continue. I'm trying to look through the camera. So codes. No codes present. All right. Like I said before, it would be there immediately. So let me assemble the rest of this, and we get this. Oh well, get it back together basically, so I can road test it and make sure it works good now. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I think it will. All right, she's all back together now. Let's take her for a ride. See what she does. All right, so we're gonna go for a ride here. Now, I did talk to the customer. Mustache failure. I did talk to the customer, and I asked him what happened to this thing, and he admitted that he had gone and found a mobile mechanic off of Facebook Marketplace. Okay, so some guy showed up at his house who he didn't know, and he replaced a serpentine belt, and he put that idler pulley that I had to take off, he replaced that. And ever since he did that work is when the problem started. He said he never had a problem with the check engine light and that before. He never had a problem with it running issues before. He never had a problem with it not revving up before. So he took it to a mechanic, an actual shop, and when he took it to the shop, they pointed out that, hey, the wiring, somehow or another, the guy left bolts out. The wiring, why he had to mess with wiring, I have no idea. But wiring was actually tangled up in the belt, so it destroyed the new belt that he had put on. And of course, he couldn't get a hold of the guy afterwards. So that other shop fixed the wiring, apparently, and then it had this running problem. So he's headed to another shop after that. They couldn't figure out why it was doing what it was doing. So then it wound up with us. So, I mean, it wasn't a horrible repair, but there again, taking it or having a mobile mechanic that you don't know what their qualifications are. You don't know how long they've been in business. You don't know if they even know what they're doing. You know, that's why you got to be careful with mobile mechanics. And I've said it before, there's plenty of excellent mobile mechanics out there, but you have to be mindful. You have to do some research. Just don't pick any, Joe Blow off the internet that says he's a mechanic. Because how do you know? My neighbor, who puts roofs on and stuff like that, he may think he's a mechanic, but he's not. He can do a few things, but that doesn't mean you're a mechanic. So this guy, having somebody who didn't know what they were doing, cost him an awful lot of money between us, the previous shop, the shop before that, and then actually having that work done, and then all the downtime of not having his truck drivable. So I'm going to go up this road here, and I'm going to see if it'll rev up. All right, let's see. I call that a win. All right. One broken wire. One broken wire because of incompetence is what that boiled down to. So I'm happy with that. All right, let me finish this road test and I'll get it back to the shop and we're going to end this video. All right, so she runs really, really good. Just making the last turn before I get to the shop. Make sure this thing is running the way it's supposed to, but it runs fantastic. So perfect. No more fuel shutoff. Or rev limiter or whatever you want to call it. So originally I was thinking that maybe it possibly didn't realize it was in gear. I wasn't 100% certain on that, but obviously it was a very similar situation to my own Ram pickup. So, all right, let me just park this, and got no parking up front. Just gonna park this, and I want to check the codes and see what codes I got, if any. I don't think I have any, but let's find out. Grab the scanner. All right. So go back to codes. No codes. Perfect. It's fixed. All right. Yay. I'm happy. I'm happy when things work out like that. All right. Especially when it's something that's kind of weird. Like this was a weird problem, but there it goes. Induced by somebody who didn't know what they were doing. So anyway, sometimes when you think you're getting a bargain, it costs you a heck of a lot more. So should have just taken it to the shop to begin with. Anyway, that's about it. All right, guys, I hope you're getting something out of my videos. If you are, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. If you look down below in the description, you'll see links to Amazon products that I personally use. If you could give it a click, I'd really appreciate it. It helps show traffic. If you buy something, even better, I do get a small percentage. Anyway, so that's it. All right, guys, have a great day and keep wrenching. And don't let somebody inexperienced work on your vehicle. Find out who it is.